Welcome to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. I'm Eric. This is Meghan. Only two of us today. Got deserted by Rudo. AJ lost last night. Did not sit well with them. They're still awake. They haven't gone to bed. But Tiff's a pro. She's here.
Hello.
Megan's a pro. I'm a pro. You know. I'm kidding. Just two of us today. So we'll have a little bit of fun, right? We'll do the usual top 5 lifts a little later. We'll talk a little bit about some spicy comments, you know, from yesterday. We'll talk a little bit of what's ahead tomorrow and go from there. So why don't we just go right to it, you know? Obviously a weird game yesterday. One that doesn't sit well when you're a franchise that expects to win not only the Stanley Cup, but every night, right? And then you have a game like last night. You are playing still a National Hockey League game, but you are playing the last place team, the Chicago Blackhawks. Didn't go to plan. Didn't come up with the 2 points. Didn't come up with 1 point. Just a weird game. We'll talk about it as we know with talking about the comments, but then you got Devon Toews that comes out last night and starts swinging a little bit, which is fine. Well, I'll give my thoughts. I'll give you the floor, but I don't mind it. So what do you think? You know, first and foremost.
I think it's very tactful because you mentioned, I think we were off the post-game pod when we started talking about it a bit more, but his comments aren't going to be things that they haven't already discussed internally.
Yeah.
And I look at Jared Bednar as somebody who uses his platform in addressing the media to sometimes, I think, send messages that way because I think he knows that there are things he says to media that do get back to his players, and it applies a little bit of pressure in that way as well because I'm sure that Bednar communicates his messages to his players directly as well. But sometimes it takes getting something in front of the media to add a little bit more pressure and weight to the situation, and I think that's what Devon Toews did with his comments last night. And there's a lot of reactions to it. I'm sure we could break this down because the smaller picture here is looking at the outcome of that game and how it absolutely warrants those comments. And there's greater concern, bigger picture, because it's not the first time a player has made comments like this. I wanted to read Devon Toews' post-game comments alongside Andrew Cogliano's previous post-game comments so people could see that this is kind of a similar problem. So Devon Toews said, I think we got some guys who think they're playing well, and I think they're kidding themselves at this point. It's frustrating to play out there when you got guys that think they're playing well, and they're doing things that you have no idea what play they're going to make. And then I'm trying to remember what loss specifically this was, but Cogliano also made a similar comment. He said, I think we need to understand sometimes a little bit of who we are. Sometimes plays aren't to be had at the blue lines, and turnovers sometimes create momentum going the other way. They might not score off the first chance, but they score off the second or third one. We have some of the best players in the world in this room, and that's a positive. But I think a lot of other guys, including myself, need to adopt a little bit of a mindset of chip away, forecheck momentum, and break teams down. That way you're going to be in games all the time, and you push it near the end. We gave way too many open looks and rush chances and bad plays with the puck accumulate over time. And I think that these comments are reflecting on the same problem for the Avs. And it's righteous to call it out because I think in different games it points to different parts of the lineup that just aren't fully adopting the team's identity consistently. Because I think you see that's how the team has 40 points right now in the standings. They're kind of hovering above Winnipeg in the standings. They're just behind Dallas. They have a few games in hand. They're really not in a horrible spot in the Central Division for the Avs, that is. And you compare it to where they were at last December, and they're leaps ahead of where they were. They had a really rough December last year. There were also tons of injuries to account for it. There have been injuries this year. There have been great games, but it's like we talked about on the post-game show. The highs have been very high, but the swing for the lows has been just a little bit too much of a gap. And I think that this is even something Logan O'Connor has talked about in his individual identity as a player, that he won't always have an A game, but he can't dip below a B game.
Yeah.
That's how he stays in the National Hockey League.
Yep.
And I think that's true of the Avs identity a little bit too. Their A game as a team. You know, if that was who they were, their A game players, it's hard to put that together for 82 games in a season. But they can't let their game dip below a B. When they start having these C, D, F rated games, it's just an entirely different team. It's not Colorado Avalanche hockey. And that points to something of a culture and an identity problem that I think warrants being called out in December, because it's something that can be corrected.
Yeah.
And hearing it from two leaders in the room, specifically in Toews and Cogliano, I think is important too. Those are guys who are leaders in the room and are respected for their opinion. And so I think it's especially important for players who are new to this group and who have been a part of it for a long time to heed the words of players like Toews and Cogliano, who also have won and are leaders in the room for a reason.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying, and I don't know if you can recall, but I'll go back to my experiences. Coaching staff is one thing. You deal with them every day, right? So you touched upon it there. There's a leadership group that the coaches will work with, which is normal when you have 20-something guys. Like, you're not gonna every day you're gonna get 23 different answers, right?
Right.
On how things are going. And of course you have a personal relationship in a sense. You shouldn't go more than a few days to check in on each player. And that's why you have assistant coaches as well. Pratt, Bennett, Brett in the video. Everybody has UC Park, deal more with the goalies, right? Goalies are different. So make sure they get their love and, they understand their process. And so it's a little different. You're going to deal with your leadership group. You're going to deal with your stars. And I think they have an excellent relationship, and I say it too, because management, it's different. When you get called in to have a meeting with Joe or C-Mac, it's a little different, because it's not something that's on day-to-day interaction.
Yeah.
So you might be like, oh, whoa, I got a breakfast, Like, I got to go to C-Mac's room, Usually it's because it's a deeper problem or a deeper thing or something that needs to be addressed, or, it could be a personal thing, and it could be your wife. That's, there's something, an organization is always there for the players. So what I'm trying to say is your peers, and I said that last week, is the most important thing, because it's totally different than your coaches. Bednar could come in and go, oh, that's a bad game, guys, And then coaches after a game like last night, I never played for Bednar, so I can't speak for that. But they might come in the room for 12 seconds, and then go to their own room and go vent in their own room and address the team for 10, 12 seconds. That was unacceptable. Day off tomorrow. We'll see you Thursday. But there is that 4 or 5 minute period there before the media comes in, and a lot is said right there as guys are getting undressed, and some guys quicker than others because they don't want to face the media. That they're just not. Sometimes you're just not in the mood because you're going to say something stupid, right? Or it just hasn't gone well for you. You don't want to. I'll face them tomorrow night or whatever it is, right? The scrums I'm talking about,
yeah,
and that you're in there. I think you should make yourself available. I did, but nobody wanted to talk to me, but I'm just saying, when you hire a profile guy, I do believe you should make yourself available all the time, right? I mean, you shouldn't have to chase guys down, but I understand. But I played with a guy named Wayne Gretzky, and he was always available. So that's where I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying the Avs guys are hiding, but what I'm getting back to is what you were just saying. So your peers, hearing it from someone on the ice that's got skates with you, and that's not a coach, it carries a lot of weight. We all know there's an issue here in the sense that Gabe Landeskog's not there. We all know that. This is different, though. This team is one together, the leadership group. And, of course, Gabe's not there.
Right.
So what that does, it gives opportunities for Coglianos, like you just read his comments, right?
Yeah.
To speak up on the media side, and that's where I'm trying to get to is Toews did it yesterday, but it is my understanding that in those 5 minutes before the media got there, he did say exactly that to the team. It's not like he used the media as a tool to throw his teammates under the bus. So I do believe he said it in the room. And I like that it comes from a guy like that. That's a smart guy. A really good player.
Yeah.
But not an elite player like McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, right? A guy that really believes in his game, a guy that made a commitment to stay here, comes out yesterday, and I do believe he said it before he said it to the media. So it's not like he's hiding. And I like when it comes from guys like that. I go back to my playing days, go back to Avalanche 1.0. You had guys like Mike Keane. Mike Keane scored 5-6 goals a year. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you one thing. If you said something after a game and it was about things like that, you stood up like this and you were like, yes, yeah, oh yeah. It carries a lot of weight. Claude Lemieux to a certain extent, which is probably more relative to Devon Toews. Like they're really good players, like borderline all-stars, And I remember Pepe just talking to you and, saying like, what are you doing? And you're in the middle of a practice and I said, well, what are you doing? That's not how we peak. That's not the route we take on a PK. And because if you don't practice, the right way, then you're not going to play the right way. And what Cogliano's saying and Toews is saying right now is there's some guys that are just going through the motions and it's not acceptable here. And I've said it and I'll say it again. It's hard to have a championship mentality. It is hard. It's every day. It's every day off. It's every game. It's every practice. It's every team meeting. It's every time you need to say something that people might not want to hear, like yesterday. You know what I mean? Because if you just let it go and it's like, oh, it's okay. It's not how it works. And whether he's talking about a certain player or, that's up to him to know and, talk about that. We sure could speculate, you know what I mean? And I know some people are speculating, which is fine. But somewhere, somehow, and I'm sure he included himself in there because I do believe he's had a couple rough games here, lately, and especially with Kale out. I said it the other day. I would have liked a better game from Toews a couple games ago. I would have liked a better game from Bo a couple games ago. Kale's been out, so you don't replace Kale, but you certainly can elevate your game, and we didn't see that for a few games. We saw it for a few games. They had those 2 games where they won those 2 games in a row, and I think Bednar said it was probably close to their most complete games of the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I agree with. But when you do something like this, I don't mind it, and it comes from your peers, and of course, it just all of a sudden made the rounds last night, everywhere, and then it becomes like, oh my God, unhappiness,
Is the locker room
broken. Listen, there's nothing broken. There's a very good symmetry between management, coaches, and players. Bednar and the leadership group that Devon Toews is part of,
Right.
100%. And what people don't seem to understand is, sometimes you have a C and A's, and it's so misconstrued. Like whatever the word is, like you don't need a letter to be a leader on a team.
Yeah.
And I know that for a fact. And I've been part of teams that a lot of guys don't have letters, and when they speak, it carries. And there's a lot of guys that sure they yap every 4 seconds. It's not. And then all of a sudden the message gets lost a little bit. Like, oh God, here we go again. But there's guys that I don't believe Devon Toews is a guy that always yaps every day. You know what I mean? So when he does say something like that, it carries a lot of weight. Whether he's right or wrong, I do believe he's right.
Right.
Of course, you do believe he's right. Where does that lead to? And I just think that maybe there are a few guys that aren't accustomed to the pressures of being a winner and every day doing it. It's I always say it's easy to do the wrong thing. It is. It's easy. it's not always easy to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, put in some extra time. It's easy, like I said, just to get off the ice. Oh, it's easy to just turn the puck over. I tried something,
Yeah.
Like practice, game days, doesn't matter. So I do believe it was a little spicy. You know what I mean? Do I agree with them? Yes, I think you do too. Do I think that it disrupts the locker room? No. Do I think that something needed to be said? Yes. Because, we were frustrated. We were watching the game, and I'm sure fans are frustrated. And management's watching this. You're frustrated. Coaches are frustrated because you're like, Rudo said it best earlier today, and I was reading his stuff, and he's like, consistently being inconsistent. Or, you know what I mean? Like, they're consistently being inconsistent, and that becomes a problem. And it is tough to be consistent in this. It is hard as a young player, as an older player, as a team, as a unit. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We can still talk about it. I can give you more of the floor, but I liked what he did. I respected. Do I think he said it to the team? Yes. So I'm not scared of that. That it obviously creates a little bit different from Mikko's dad last week, where I'm sure Mikko's dad wasn't there. He's in Finland. You know what I mean? So this is something that was said before, said it to the media, and it's kind of snowballed a little bit, and obviously kind of made the rounds on social media and everywhere. But there's nothing wrong with that. I you know what? It's not easy to win, and they haven't been perfect. We know that. They're a good team.
Yeah.
Do we think they'll be there at the end? Yes.
Yes.
But right now, it's just the inconsistency.
I used last December as a frame of reference for how I feel about this year's team. And I think what corroborates everything you're saying is Jared Bednar going on altitude this morning and affirming everything that Toews said. And what I think is interesting is Bednar also goes on to say that this isn't a new message. This is something that he has been singing to the group. The group has been saying to the group for some time now that straying from the system has allowed mistakes. And they're not just simple mistakes, they're costly mistakes that are allowing dangerous chances going the other way. Yeah. And so it reaffirms this belief that the Avs are beating themselves because they are giving these grade A chances to other teams and not making them earn their goals. And those are the mistakes that Bednar is talking about, and they are born from straying from the system. And that's where I think there remains some concern, and it's not pointed at Devon Toews because I think he needed to say what he said, and it sounds like Bednar and Cogliano. Yeah. People have been saying this inside the room. So
leadership group.
The leadership group.
Coaching,
exactly.
Coaching staff.
So it's not new messaging. No. They have their messaging. So what's not clicking? That's sort of where I'm now a little bit concerned. And again, it's December. It's not something that they can't overcome. But I'm wondering if, and I don't want to point to new guys specifically, but new to this year, there's buy-in, and then there's buy-in with like a capital B. I think there are players who think they've bought into the Avs system and aren't aware that the commitment it takes has to be a second nature and an instinct for them, that they actually have not bought in and they just think that they have, because it's not a full 60 commitment. And I also think that it extends beyond the rink and how they take care of themselves away from it. Yeah. And I think that there is maybe a learning lesson that needs to be applied for what buy-in really looks like here with the Colorado Avalanche. I think that's the part that's been missing. Is I look at that room and I think there's a lot of guys with a great work ethic. So I don't think this is laziness. I just think there's a misunderstanding. I don't think everybody has been fully integrated to what it means to buy in here in Colorado, maybe compared to other teams or just new to this year. Either way, I think there needs to be another lesson in what that truly means. And I don't know how that gets executed. Bednar alluded to managing ice time differently. I don't know if that's specifically to send a message or to take a little bit of that workload off some of the top line specifically, but something needs to give in way of players understanding what it means to play Avalanche hockey.
And I agree. And there's many ways to look at it, but you can always look at it and say, you can talk about it. We've had guys on our show, right?
Yeah.
Colton, Woody.
Yeah.
New guys I'm talking about, come on in. And what do they say? They talk about the culture, right? From training camp on, they're talking about the culture and, you come in here, But right now, I think that It's one thing to say culture, but it's another thing to show it and to do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like by their game. Doesn't look like they've played the culture, the Avalanche hockey culture. They haven't. And it's funny because the way they're built and the way their system works is when everybody's on the same page. And Toews alluded to that a little bit yesterday. Like, you don't know where the other guy is going to go, because right. And just for people listening, just so you're aware, like, it's easier to play a game in the National Hockey League than to play a game in the American Hockey League. Because, and I'm not, I say it all the time, I love the AHL. I do, right?
It's very unpredictable.
No, it's just, I compare that all the time to tryout hockey. So if there's people in the chat there that they have kids and, and they go to tryouts, like, tryout hockey is just, it's absolutely the worst hockey in the world. Like, because everybody's trying to, the dad said, make it, or the mom said, make an impression. You know what I mean? And then they go out there and everyone grabs the puck and they're going everywhere. And then no one is nowhere where they're supposed to be. There's no system. And again, I'm not that crazy to say that a 12-year-old should have systems, but I'm saying at least have a little bit of common sense where things go, but there is none because it's tryout hockey. So the American League, I always say it's a little bit like tryout hockey because you're trying to make an impression and, oh my God, Chris McFarland's in the building. I'm going to show him I can play, right? And it's just what it is. And then guys are everywhere. You play in the National Hockey League, there's systems, there's tendencies, and you know exactly where one guy's going to be. So if you look at the Avs goal yesterday, like that neutral zone more, a lot of breakdowns there. Like, guys are like, where are you going? And I'm not here to single out anyone, but what are you doing? Why are you next to me? You know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden the puck's in your net. So that's what he was kind of talking about, right?
Right.
You don't know where this is not what we do here.
Yeah.
This is what we do, and this is how it is. And I think they have free reign. They're built with superstars. And I think that's where I think Bednar's been masterful. He's allowed Nate to play their elite game. And yeah, their leash is different than Ben Myers. It's life. You know what I mean? And nothing wrong with Ben Myers. You know what I mean? I'm not bagging on Ben Myers. Or Logan. We love Logan.
Yeah.
Let's just use Logan. If Logan tries to play like Nate McKinnon, it ain't going to work. Like, it's just not going to work. And then next thing you know, everyone on the chat's going to be pissing on Logan and you should be scratched. And it's not how it works. You got to play to your identity. And I think he's been masterful coaching-wise with his staff to let those guys be elite. Let those guys not just play like dump and chase hockey and you know what I mean? And I'm not saying the third, fourth line should play that way. What I think Cogliano was saying the other day is there's a time and a place to make a play.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not there. I don't know what to tell you. It's life. It's not football. Football is predictable. It's a play. You're taking a left on the 30-yard line. The ball's going to come across, right? You know what I mean? And it's awesome. That's why football's awesome. I'm not saying it's not fun.
Yeah.
Hockey is chaotic. Hockey is, you drop the puck, there's no whistle. You just keep going, and you have to regroup and do something else. But sometimes that's something else that's not there.
Right.
Therefore, you do have to get it deep, and you do have to use your speed and get it. Wood, Colton, they've been successful. Why? They get the puck deep, but that doesn't mean they give it to the other team. You know what I mean? Like, they get it smart. The other guy skates into it, put it into a place where the other guy goes, where a turnover is just not the right thing to do. And that's what they were talking about, Cogliano especially. There's a time and a place to play, and then that's how you win championships.
Yeah.
Because Bednar said at the start of the year, he wants championship caliber habits. And they were winning game at the start of the year, but they're like, we have ways to go. Now they still have ways to go, but it just seems that they're stubborn about their way about going to win a hockey game. And I'm not just blaming new guys.
No.
There's guys that have been on the championship team that have not been up to snuff. I'm talking about on that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like a kid, right? I said it the other day, like, oh, don't touch the hot fire, don't touch the fire, but you want to, because we talk about it on the show all the time. They go 10, 12, 14 minutes. I mean, God, they made almost 20 minutes without a shot against, They're a puck possession team. It works. Just do the right things and then don't, But then all of a sudden, boom, they make a dumb one. They have a brain cramp, a brain fart. And to be honest, like, yeah, there might be some grade A chance, but you have to make a save at sometime. I'm not here to bag on the goalies, and I'm a goalie dad, so it's all good. But at some point, you have to make a save that you're not supposed to. But that's a grade A chance. You have to make a save, and that's how you keep your teams in the game. So I think that they've just been stubborn with their game. They've been. Part of it is some new guys, and you're right. Part of it is some guys that are struggling with the vigorous demands of every day, having those habits and needing to play and to win and to go get those precious points,
Yeah.
It's like that movie, Any Given Sunday, right? It's a game of inches,
Yeah.
It's a great speech, like forget about the movie. I'm talking about the speech. It's a game of inches, and it's the same thing in hockey. It's a game of habits and the little things, and sometimes you're just grinding through, and then it comes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shifts later, and then you get rewarded. It might not be you.
Yeah.
It might be Nate or Mikko, but the whole process was you grinding them down, and you chipped away at it inches by inches. Kind of like that speech said. But I just think it's inconsistent. I think the coaching staff's tired of it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Being upstairs, I'm sure CMAC and company you're growing weary of it, because you're like, you're not going to win this way.
Right.
So is it that's where management is different than coaching. When is it enough? It's like the tuna Tatar experience. You know what I mean? Like, when is it enough? Like, it's not working. And then we go say, oh God, he went to Seattle, got a goal and assist. Awesome. It's great. You know what I mean? And good for him. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he's a good player. But
wished he could have done that.
But he was probably put that over there, in a situation where it's Mikko's spot, and then all of a sudden he produced it. You know what I mean? And it's awesome. It's right. It's awesome. It's great. It just wasn't going to work here. So as managers, it's hard right now, because you're like, hey, with coaches, do we feel we're gonna, turn this thing around in a sense that not. They're almost tied for they're still in first this morning. I didn't even look at the standings.
It's 40. They just have games
of good games
ahead.
Played more. I know,
Yeah.
but what I'm trying to say is, oh my God, they're not
no,
they're not 32nd in the list. Not what I'm saying. They want to win championships here.
Right.
That is different. This is not the Avs of 4 years ago. This is the Avs of, we want more cups. And in order to have more cups, and again, go back to 01, you know what I mean? They're in first place in the league, and then they decide that in order to win, they got to go get one more D and sacrifice an outstanding forward for me and Adam Detmarsh, right? And then you go get Rob Blake, and then this is how we're going to be built. That's how we're going to win. And it proved to be right. So, but they were in first place when they did that. So it's not like they were a last place team. Oh my God, we got to do something. So what we're saying here, what we're talking about is management just shakes their head, because they're like, oh, you think you've turned the corner, and then it creeps back on again. And that's why it's like, why? You get on that plane yesterday and you're like, and then you get in your car, you get home, it's late, and then you get in your car, and then you drive, because you all know DIA is far, and then you go to your house, and then you're thinking that's what you can do. Like, what is it is it the personnel? It's certainly not the coaches. It's not.
No, I have a lot of faith.
I think they're entrenched with the leadership group, and they're entrenched, with, and he says it all the time. And especially when you've won, it's easy to give the rein to, I've talked to coaches back then in Pittsburgh and everything. They're like, oh my God, this Crosby's unreal. We don't need to do anything. We just go in, we do our stuff, and then he just takes care of the rest. And he's like, don't worry, I got those guys. Everybody's on the same page. We'll get going. And that's what leadership is. And that's what winners do. And Nate's a winner. Mikko's a winner, but everybody's different in their own ways, and you can't just ask Mac all the time you know what I mean? Because he's got that, and then Kale's more like, hey, it's the nicest guy, right? And then Mikko's different, where he gets moody and, but he's funny, and you know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you got Toews, which, Cogliano, guys that have been around that are still value. Of course, I'm talking about Cogliano, still valuable because of what you bring.
Because the leadership,
the leadership, and I said it the other day, you don't have to have a letter. He doesn't have a letter.
Right.
But you're an important piece when you're on the bench. You might not play 18, 20 minutes like you used to back then. But when you're there and you're on the bench and you're playing, there's things that need to be said during the TV timeouts. You know what I mean? There's 3 TV timeouts per period. a lot can be said to calm things down. A lot can be said in between periods. So everybody has a role. This is a championship team, and sometimes you have to let each other know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's not up to snuff today, Megan. You know what I mean? Like, or Tiff, it's okay. But there's a way to say it. Of course, if you're that guy that always comes in, it's like, and people are like, oh God, like, you know what I mean? Like, not this guy again. You know what I mean? And over the years, you learn how to deal with that. Like, use footy. You know, footy maybe earlier in his career was a little more like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh God, you know what I mean? Where all of a sudden he got better at, you know, learning from guys like Patrick and Keener and Claude. And then you're like, oh, maybe my message. And then he became an outstanding leader and then obviously a captain in this franchise. And, you know, numbers retired. Now he's doing a great job at Vancouver. What I'm saying is you learn with that, right? So I don't know. I think I'm speaking for you. I think we didn't mind it.
No.
I think that it was more than okay. And there's no big deal. And I don't see this as being a crisis.
No.
You know?
I know earlier in the year, Cam Makar made comments about how the room wasn't quite open enough and not enough guys are speaking up. But more recently, I think more guys have been vocal than we realize on this side of things. And Duran said it's an open room just a couple games ago and talked about how players like Josh Manson are speaking up.
Oh, my God. That's another guy we're forgetting. Yeah,
exactly. He's not someone that I immediately think of, but there's diversity in the leadership group that, like you say, are not wearing letters that are also speaking up in that room. I think that they have work to do, but it's also not the crisis level. This room is broken. That I think it appears to people on the outside of things right now, especially the national media that's picking this up, and all they've seen is Mikko Rantanen and Devon Toews going off. And that's not the feel that I get being in that room. I don't think that's the feel that you get. There's absolutely work for this team to do, and they're sorely missing Gabriel Landeskog's leadership. That is undeniable. But I still think there's diversity in that leadership group that we don't always consider, and Toews is a really big part of it.
I think we've talked enough about this in a sense that, but it's good because it is good. And then I'm just looking to my right side there because, you know, we're talking about, not that I want to change subjects, but you got to remember, like, somebody's asking about Ray Bennett on the power play, and Ray Bennett does an excellent job. He's been around the NHL for so long. Everybody has their parts to it. You got to remember it's a trust factor too with the head coach. The head coach, he trusts Nolan Pratt. He trusts Brett. He trusts Ray, you know, for what they have to do, you know, which Ray does PP, and then Nolan does the PK, and then but I saw something earlier about, I talk about it all the time. Yeah, I don't like it when they're out there 2 minutes. I don't. I just never been a fan of it. Does that mean I'm right? No. I like competition. If you're not going, then we'll go. And that's why I like 2 units. But this one is more heavily loaded on one, as we know. Right. And I'm not saying it's wrong. That's just what they're doing. And you got to remember, this team's built different than most teams. You know, the amount of, and I used it the other day, like elite players, they're like artists. You know what I mean? And there's one puck out there. There's 5 guys, you know, and it sounds stupid what I'm saying, but it's not. So everybody wants to, you know, you got Cale Makar, and then you got Nate McKinnon, and then you got Mikko that wants to shoot it, and then you got, you know what I mean? It's hard. There's only one puck. So you can have tendencies, you can have this, you can have that, but Avalanche 1.0, Avalanche 2.0, you know, Sakic, Forsberg, I mean, the list goes on, you know. You can tell guys what to do, but those guys are elite for a reason. They're making the big money, and they produce at the right time, and we get frustrated about the PP all the time, but bang, it's in the net, right? You know, because they have special players. And to answer the question there, it's like sometimes Ray can tell them to do what they're going to do, but at the end of the day, those guys are the ones that are special, that are elite, and their creativity will take over in a game, and it's nothing you've drawn up or talked about.
Yes.
And right. So that's why they're special. That's why, even though they're frustrating as a unit, that's why they still produce, because they can do it on their own. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that that's how this team's built. You know what I mean? Because superstars are different, and they have a different leeway. You know,
I think that's been what I think has been missing from the power play when we've been unhappy with it, because like special teams are just fickle and ebb and flow throughout the season. Although I think the penalty kill has stayed pretty good through this point. Obviously, there's been some goals against, but I think it has been very strong. But anyways, the power play specifically, I think Mikko Rantanen needs a little bit of a big nap still. I think he's still working through some of his lack of finish. I was glad to see the resurgence of play a couple games ago, but I still think he's working through some things. And that's what's missing from the power play is the level of good unpredictability that he brings to it, because he is so creative in his playmaking that I think that is what allows that top unit to succeed. And his lack of finish, I think, has sort of crept into that top power play unit. I think once Mikko gets his game right, you see the power play rolling as dominantly as you know it can be because of the personnel that are on PP1. I think that's why people get frustrated with it, is because you look at the talent that's on there and you expect it to be scoring every time. And I like the comment about how they don't really roll with that second unit, but it brings them success every once in a while to be willing to evolve beyond just rolling with the top unit, because Sam Malinsky gets out there and his contributions allow Mikko Rantanen to contribute on the power play. And I think that that only happens if things aren't working. And so it's been now a couple power play chances to allow a little bit of a different look there. But you don't want to abandon what's worked for them for so long, and that's Mikko Rantanen. And I think that once Mikko gets his game right, we're a lot happier with the power play.
And when you do have elite guys like that, I do believe you have to let them loose sometimes. You know what I mean?
You're right.
It's different if you have a bunch of, and again, I'm Ross Colton on the unit and Bo Byron, or it's not Cale Makar, it's not Nate. So those guys are a little different. Where the other ones have to be more methodical and systematic, and you know what I mean, like, hey, you're not Cale. You know what I mean? You're not Nate. So, and that's all right. So, but anyway, somewhere somehow they're always going to produce because those guys are unreal. So those guys are unreal players. We are brought to you by Bet365.
He's calling me out next game.
Is he? I like that.
That's funny.
I like that. We are brought by Bet365. At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic. Every touchdown, every game, every point, every play, from the moment that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. Get a better price on chosen markets for select games with Bet365 Boosts or Bet365 Super Boosts. You can even get in on our very own custom bet. Keep an eye out each week for new bets on Bet365. Ride with DNVR and place your bets using code DNVR365 at sign up. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone know has a gambling problem and wants to help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-GAMBLER. We're also brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery. Breck Brew has a beer for any occasion, and there is no better way to watch a game than having some Breck Brew. Breck Brew has been doing it for over 33 years, and it all comes down to their love and passion for making good beer. Check out their Christmas Ale, which has a new recipe this season for just $6 at the DNVR bar. Head to breckbrew.com and use the beer locator to find it at a local liquor store near you. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast with Megan and myself. Let's do our top five. Let's have a little bit of fun. It is the holidays, and why not, talk about it's gifting season, and holidays are always fun for that. And top five of gifts that we would like to give the Avalanche team, players, fans this holiday season. So let's start with number 5. How about some health? And I know we talk about it every year, but this is a chance for us to wish the Avalanche and the coaching staff, right, some health. And obviously we see Lekin in there, and it's good to see him skate every day at Family Sports.
Yeah.
It's been nice to see him. I actually saw him yesterday. No, not yesterday, 2 days ago. but just skating on his own, and he looked very fresh, healthy. He wasn't. I think you're looking at him sooner rather than later.
Good.
On the recovery.
Good.
And then of course there's more to health. I mean, our good friend Sammy Girard, right? Which thinking about him in this holiday season, and he's a big hole in the Avalanche lineup. You really feel it, but it's an opportunity for Malinsky and things like that. Who else do we got health-wise? But of course, those are two big ones. Then we have
Makar
Gabe,
and Manson.
Yeah.
They're lingering issues that they're working through. It feels too like when you ask a genie for more wishes to say, "Can the Avs just be healthy?"
Yeah.
That's like an infinite number of wishes.
Right. It feels like asking the genie for more wishes, but we get to make the rules, and so we're granting them full health.
All right. So are we good with that one? 5?
Yes.
We're good. Hey, again, wishing everybody
Landeskog, his recovery.
well, of course.
We'll throw that in
We'll
there.
throw that in there. Landy, of course. And then anybody that's lingering. And it's a grueling season in the NHL. So it's we wish everybody some health and whatever they're going through. And but you know what? Cross our fingers that they're all back, right, at some point. So number 4 of our top 5 on the Bet365. How about an experienced backup? I'll take the lead on this. I really, again, I'm not being negative. I think you're going to say the same thing as I am.
it.
All right. I really thought it was Justus Anninen's job to take. I understand the process. I'm not arguing it. Now Justus is hurt, right? So, okay, they went and got Prospetov. He's been fine. Here's what it is. Georgiev, was outstanding in the first part. Been trying to find his game since then. Not good enough. Not championship caliber enough. And sometimes when you have a more experienced backup, and I'm going to go back to, I said it the other day, use Jonathan Quick last year for Vegas. He doesn't play a game, but the experience was invaluable for Hayden Hill, and to have a guy like that right there day in and day out of practice on the bench in the locker room. I said that about Cogliano. It's the same thing for goaltending. They are a different breed. They are their own union. I mean, they are what they are, and they're complex. And I think UC does a good job with their goalies. And I know some coaches in the NHL, they don't go near their goal. I mean, because they're like, oh, boy, I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to talk with them. I wave at them. You know what I mean? So they have their own union. I do believe an experienced backup would be, and it's not that easy.
No,
it's not that easy.
This is our list of things that we want.
Exactly. And then we'll see down the stretch there if they go and decide to go that route. And just look at Toronto right now. What's his name there? Wall gets hurt, and then Samsonov hasn't been good, and then Martin Jones, that really didn't have a prominent job this summer, right? Signs there was a third guy in Toronto, and right now he's playing pretty good, and he's winning some games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's what I mean by an experienced backup.
Yes. No, I agree. It's looking ahead. There was trust that Pavel Francouz could come in the Western Conference Final and help the Avs get through that moment. And I don't have that same trust in Prosvetov, and it's a lack of experience. It's not to be overly critical of him. It's just the lack of experience. And obviously, Aiden Hill proved that sometimes lack of experience doesn't matter, but I think pointing out that having veteran goaltender presence around him probably helps. Yeah. And I think that Georgiev's even young for being a starting goaltender. I think that if they had an experienced backup, it would be invaluable experience, like you're using the Quick example. And it's a necessary component, because if they find themselves, and I'm hoping this doesn't happen, with any sort of goaltending injury in the playoffs, there's just not enough trust in Prosvetov as it stands.
And again, I see the chat talking about Frankie. I mean, we all love Frankie. Frankie was the perfect backup. Awesome.
Yeah.
Big part of why they won
so
2 years ago.
There.
Trusted, pushes the other guy enough, knows his role, and that's what I mean by that. No offense to Prosvetov or Justus or whatever, you know what I mean? I just would like to have that thing there where it's just a security blanket for them. You know what I mean? And even though the guys might not be playing, he helps the guy that's playing. And if you're young and inexperienced, you don't have that. You know what I mean? So, and again, it's a wish list, right? So, But again, Frankie was the perfect guy. He's just not there. And everybody misses Frankie. Everybody loves Frankie. And it doesn't get better than that. So can we move on?
Yeah, we are. It extends for Frankie too.
My God, yeah. I just thought about that.
The gift
Didn't
that
think
keeps
about it.
giving.
Yeah, right. You keep forgetting. You know what I mean? You build something 2 years ago, last year. You know, this is our goaltending. This is how we're built. And, you know, of course, it
was excellent too. It was one of the most competitive tandems, I think, beyond Boston's.
Injuries derail things, you know. So, all right. Number 3, we have, how about a depth defenseman? You know, what's Tiff's just like, let's put Eric Johnson there. Why not? You know what I mean? Just throw a name out there. There's going to be names out there coming up here. And, you know, if it makes sense, of course, there's familiarity with EJ and, you know, you're talking about locker room presence and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, and wanting to be an Avalanche. So that's just one name, you know. This Buffalo seems to be a team that's really not going anywhere. And
I thought they would be.
Yeah.
That's been a season that I think has underwhelmed me.
But again, their I don't want to say lack of depth because I think their depth's good on D. It's more veteran depth, you know what I mean? Like where...
Yes. Who's trusted to play up in the lineup if needed.
Because, right, I mean, we haven't seen Huntsy, and I'm a big Brad Hunt fan.
He's the best.
Been for years. I love Brad Hunt. But I also love to have him in what you and I talk about all the time, a very important piece of an organization, which is the American Hockey League.
Yeah.
And he's an unbelievable guy down there for anyone, not just the young defenseman, but for anyone that's trying to be a pro and just follow the lead of a guy like that. So we haven't seen him for a game this year.
Yeah.
Right? And then last year, he ended up playing a lot of games. He was here for a lot.
He was here a lot.
So, I mean, I like the fact that Jones has been here, Malinsky's been here. Who else have we seen on D? Are we missing anyone? Or no, we haven't seen anybody else, right? But
they've called up people that have just
sat there,
joined for road trips. Yeah, haven't played.
But why not? It's always nice to have. It's always nice to protect yourself. I like to be 10 deep. That's me. It's always been my philosophy. And next thing you know, you got 2 that go down. You're down to 8, and that's not that. It goes down quick. You know what I mean? Injuries go down quick, and I like healthy competition. So, you know, let's move on to number 2.
Yeah.
Right? All right, Bet365.
Oh boy.
Oh my boy, Lindy. Second line center. We're here for a wish list. No offense to Ryan Johansson, right? We never have offense to anything, but obviously there's math to be done here. You know what I mean? So we're not. Meghan looks smart. I don't look smart, but I'm not smart. But we all know that there's, when you're talking about names like Lindy, Elias Lindholm, sorry, going by the nicknames, then that doesn't. Obviously, there's math there, right? There's a cap problem. So, but I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you move out, obviously, some money. I just think it's a better fit than Ryan Johansson, and Ryan Johansson's been fine at times, right? We talked about it. He's got over 10 goals. He's had some face-offs. He's had some power play time. But I don't know. Like I said, no offense to Ryan Johansson, I'm saying, but look at the 0-1 Avs. Adam Denmark's a pretty damn good player and ended up being the person that gets traded. Yeah. You know what I mean? And taken out the lineup. So I'm just saying, I just would like to get a better option, at that position. And I think AJ said it best. Yeah, he was getting funny yesterday when, what was he talking about? Of course, we all love Nazem Kadri. You know what I mean? Like, in a 90-point season and no shit. You know what I mean? Like that, we all loved him. You know what I mean? And so it's just, it was an unbelievable year for Kadri, and there's like AJ said, they also won the cup, you know what I mean? Because they were so strong, at 1 and 2. But I just feel there's not just obviously Elias Lindholm. There's different people, and sometimes it just has to be a fit. You know what I mean? And Somebody saying that Rigel is, that guy's worse. Well, for me, Elias Lindholm is an unbelievable PP guy. Oh, I'm sorry. But again, I'm going. I just feel that he touches so many areas of the game. PP, PK.
Yeah.
He's a right shot centerman, gives you a different look. Face off wise,
Yeah.
and of course, Rigel's a right shot, but
They liked that.
you
as
know what
an
I mean?
option on the right
It's a
side.
big deal. It's a big thing. I just love the fact that they're going to look at things like that, but there's a math problem. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
You can't just get into it. You know what I mean?
That's why he's on our wish list, because he would be such a good fit in Colorado.
All right. No, Sean Monahan, I agree. I mean, Sean Monahan is another guy. It's just the skating ability is just not there. And for me, the Avs are so fast,
Yeah.
and you need pace. Sean does not play with pace or speed. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that he's a bad player or a smart player, but that's why I use Lindholm as a better option. You know what I mean? And again, it's a wish list.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying that. But anyway, it'd be awesome. And I'm sure, you got to remember, coaches are there every day. They coach the 20 players that are dressed because there's injuries and all that stuff. Players are there to play. And then management's there every day with their team of pro scouts scattered everyone. I mean, everywhere around the NHL. As you know, you're in press boxes. I mean, every night you see 10, 12, 14 teams. In the East, it's even worse because it's so close and everyone's there.
Yeah.
But it's nuts. And because everyone knows about everybody and everyone knows about who's unloading what. And there's a reason why there's rumors. There's a reason why there's things. And that's the beauty of our sport. You want to try to get better every day. And that's what C-Mac and his crew do every day. Amateur guys are looking for the draft and they're looking for the next,
Right.
Mikko Rantanen and,
Yeah.
all that stuff. They have nothing to do with the outcome of a game today. But the pro side and C-Mac and his crew, and obviously what they look at is every day, how do we make this team better? How do we find a way, if it is Elias Lindholm that we're targeting, how do we go about it? And to go about it, then you have to drop this piece and that piece. Now, does that make you better? And that's what you figure out at the end of the puzzle, what makes sense. Good on two?
Yeah. It's ramped up this time of year too, the scouting. The Calgary game was heavily scouted by a lot of organizations.
Here we go.
So it's happening.
It's happening.
Behind the scenes, people are looking.
All right, number one. Very easy in our opinion. Shirtless, tarps are off. Gabe Landeskog, the Viking. That guy's awesome. Good kid. I use him as a kid because it's obviously. I remember going to see him in Kitchener, and wow, what a warrior! What a guy! What a person! What a perfect leader for this franchise. And I think fans miss him. I think players miss him.
Yeah.
I think coaches miss him, and I think management just dreams about him coming back, So if there's one guy that can come back, it is him. And I know the things are out there that it doesn't look good. People that have gone through this type of injury and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But why not be that guy? You know what I mean? Why not be that guy that beats the odds in a sense, that makes it better and then comes back and he's actually can be a presence and, get back to some of what he was, before the injury. And we all know he was a big part in the playoffs. So I think that is a wish list, obviously. And that's why he's at number one, because he is a big piece of, and I know we talked about it earlier with the Toews thing. And it doesn't mean that Gabe Landeskog, let's say he was playing yesterday, that Toews thing could have still happened. It's okay. You can still speak up even though there's a captain.
It might be Landeskog saying
it. Or it might be, again, a Toews. That's why, it's not because, the captain, you know what I mean, is not there, so you have to say no, but it does entice you to, a guy like Toews, to speak more now because we have to fill that void. Like we talk about Kale not being dressed. Okay, then the other 6 Ds that are dressed have to bring it up a notch, right? And play. You're not going to replace them, but you certainly can help in that department.
Yeah.
So that's the way I kind of look at Gabe's absence. You know what I mean? And I always say having one And I'm not downplaying Gabe because I love him. He's one of my, as you know that, he's one of my favorites. So that is
Your
not,
son.
he's one of my, part of the group that named him captain, youngest captain in the history of the league. So what I'm about to say is not a knock on Gabe. It's having won as a team, they learned as a group, as individuals, what it takes. So it's less devastating that Gabe's not there now because they've won. If they hadn't won, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if they can win without him. You know what I mean? So because he's such a strong presence in the locker room. But now it's like, okay, they can try to overcompensate it by chipping in a little bit, every one of them. And then hopefully he comes back. So, but of course they miss him. All right, so that wraps up our Bet365 Never Ordinary Top 5. We're also brought to you by Hestra Job Gloves. I got mine in the car. Still waiting for snow, though. We don't have a lot of snow. Hestra Job Gloves feel great, giving you great dexterity to get the job done. Don't trash your good ski gloves, shoveling, going outdoor on the cold labor, or changing a flat tire. You need a high-quality work glove. Hestra gloves are great for year-round work, like for DIY projects, gardening, construction, landscaping, and any other work where you use your hands. Visit www.hestrajob.us and use code DNVRJOB to get 30% off on your next purchase. And anyone looking to supply their team with high-quality work gloves at a bulk rate can email Josh Jacobson at josh@hestrausa.com. So Josh Jacobson at josh@hestrausa.com. Also brought to you by Breckenridge Distillery. Founded in 2008, Breck Distillery is most widely known for their blended bourbon whiskey, a high rye mash American style whiskey. Their Breckenridge bourbon is one of the most highly awarded craft bourbons in the U.S., but Breckenridge Distillery is more than award-winning spirits. Eat at their award-winning restaurant, enjoy show-stopping cocktails, learn about their spirits when an in-depth tasting, and get an inside look at their active production facility, which I've been there with youth hockey teams. Awesome, fun, great spot, really good spot to go for a group party and whatever, you know what I mean? Like even with kids, you know what I mean? So sports groups. So Breckenridge Distillery products are available in all 50 states. Shop your local retailer or visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com for home delivery of award-winning Breckenridge spirits. Après anywhere. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's look a little bit ahead of what's on tap tomorrow. Obviously, day off today.
Yeah.
A lot of games, Christmas, holiday season, all the above. Guys need a break. Guys need to spend a little time with their families. It's kind of nice to just get away from the rink. Tomorrow you got Ottawa coming in. We had talked about running the table. Not going to happen. They had that loss yesterday. All right. They had won that game against San Jose with conviction, right? Didn't happen yesterday. Now you start fresh again.
Right.
We talk about it all the time. It's fun. It's not football. You don't have to wait a full week. You get back at it. Ottawa fired their coach, DJ Smith. They go back in the well, like with Jacques Martin. Jacques was my coach in Ottawa when I played there a long time ago. Been around the block for a long time, and they got him out of retirement and was an advisor to DJ Smith, right? And now they put him behind the bench and try to fix a little bit of what has gone wrong with that team and that core. And they brought back franchise legend Daniel Alfredson. And awesome guy. Never really coached. So I think Jacques is, teaching him the ropes a little bit there. They have a new ownership group, and Lauer, right? And then they have a new GM/president of hockey operations, Steve Stais, right? Former player. That came in about a couple months ago, right? Left the Edmonton Oilers and went there. They played last night under that new regime of coaches. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm reading this. English is my second language. I learned English in high school. in Boston. So, yes. And I am French. French, my first language. So there's got to be a slight Boston accent
That's
in there
awesome.
somewhere. But it is my second language, yes. With that said, last night, first game, under Jacques Martin, up 3-0, lost the game 4-3. A little bit of the same problems. Ottawa, I think, is 10th in the league in scoring goals. They got some jam, Brady Tkachuk, and they like to be, what's that term? Brian Burke uses all the time, like truculence. They got some truculence,
That's amazing.
And but they can't keep the puck out of their net. They can't defend, and Jacques was really good. Jacques Martin was those Ottawa Senators teams back then were awesome, and President's Trophy winner, and never really did much in the playoffs, but they did reach the finals one year. Who'd they lose to? Is it Dallas or no? I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember who they. Anaheim maybe. Anaheim. But anyway, he'll bring some stability, of how to play the game of hockey. We were talking about the Avalanche, about having brain farts and all that kind of stuff. So that's been Ottawa's problem. They have a young core. They just haven't been over the hump these last few years, and it seems like they have bad first 30 games of the season every year, and then they can never get out of the hole. We're seeing that second game tomorrow. They are on the last game of a 5-game road trip. They've lost all 4, 3 with the old coach, 1 with the new coaching staff. It'll be interesting to see how they manage that last game on the road trip before going back home. I would expect a big effort from Ottawa tomorrow, and I would expect a good bounce back game from the Avs. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm going to beat them up if they don't. I'm just kidding. Also, Avs security, please don't take that seriously. But Ottawa and other teams coming into Ball Arena know that they're playing the Colorado Avalanche. And that's a quality that I never want to underestimate, because I think that a lot of teams like to give the Avs their very best because of who they are. And I'm expecting, with some of the firepower you mentioned from Ottawa, that they're going to put their best foot forward. Giroux, Tarasenko, Tkachuk. They have some firepower in their lineup that I don't think the Avs should rest on their laurels.
Yeah.
But also goaltending has been a struggle for Ottawa. And I think that is a vulnerability then. And I think back to the expression you used for earlier Avalanche teams, all the right ingredients, no recipe. That's how I feel about Ottawa right now. And I do think that some stability can be brought into Ottawa in time. They're going to get reinforcement in the way of Shane Pinto after he serves his half-season suspension. They will get him back. He's on the ice and join them soonish. That just makes them better. So they have a lot of really talented pieces in Ottawa. And Chychrun, another one that I've liked. It's just they're in a vulnerable spot coming here to Colorado tomorrow, and the Avs need to take advantage of that vulnerable spot while they have them.
I like it. We're also brought to you by High Plains Strains. High Plains Strains provides top quality cannabis in a wide variety of products. Check them out for your needs, including infused edibles, high potency concentrates, and some of the best flower in the state. There are 3 High Plains Strains locations in Colorado, Log Lane Village, Garden City, and Sedgwick. If you are in northeastern Colorado, they're the dispensary for you. Use code DNVR online or mention DNVR in stores now to get a half ounce for $45 or full ounce for $80. And that's the word I ask Ruda all the time right here. Veritas 1/8 for $25 and more. See, that's the French in me right there. But that was a fun show. We have one super chat to get to from
Our girl
Melanie. Sorry for all the typos last night. They don't look like typos to me because they're too far at night. I can't see them. But right on this one, I can. Thanks for all your insight and analysis. Appreciate you all. No, we appreciate you. Thanks for your time and the super chat. But yes, it is a fun time of year. The holidays are here. There's a little bit of inconsistency with the Avs. Tomorrow, they go back, fix that, win that game. And then you're obviously playing Phoenix on Saturday in Phoenix. Obviously down 3-0 last night to Ottawa. Come back 4-3. So they've had some good games lately. Phoenix is playing well. So there's 2 good games here at Ball Arena to finish before the Christmas break. FYI, there is a holiday freeze on the rosters unless it's an emergency. But we're talking about trades and all that stuff until the 28th, 29th. I don't remember. I mean, again, I'm not in the front office anymore. But it's one of those 28th, 29th where all of a sudden, oh boy. There's my brother laughing at my ad deliveries. Oh, all right. That's nice. That's right. Somebody said knives are out. Yeah, knives for my brother. All right. Anyway, looking forward to it. You can always like our show, right? Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on, help me out here, guys, on YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe to YouTube and listen to us anywhere you find your podcasts. If you want to put us on in the car, you can do that. Spotify, Apple.
Pre-game, watch along, post-game. Tune into Meghan's before.
Yeah,
practice.
Studs and Duds with AJ. AJ's a dud right now because he's not feeling good. No, he's not feeling good.
All right.
He's sick. So he's sitting.
The thing making him sick is a dud.
He's sitting by the toilet right now. He's not doing
That's
good.
gross.
No, I'm talking about no, I'm not that way. He's throwing up. But we love AJ. We love Rudo. Those guys are awesome. Tomorrow, it's a regular game, 7:00 local time, right? Pre-game show at 6:30. Do we have a watch along tomorrow? We got a watch along tomorrow, which will be fun. Well, anything else?
No.
We are good to go. Tiff, you're awesome. 1st star. Megan, 2nd star, and I'll take 3rd star. It's fine. King Super's 3rd star of the game. But we will see you tomorrow. Have a great.
We all silly like the mayor.